right. Well, we're going to talk about this Breonna Taylor cop situation and just life in general, where you are in terms of your life and why you're here, what the cops are here for, who you are, what you're doing. So if you get into this idea here of life, what you have is a system that's set down for you. You don't have a life. You were born into a system. You were born into a system of religion. You were born into a system of what I call debt slavery. So you've gone from a system of slavery to a system of debt slavery. And the police, the officials, representatives, these people are here to keep you in slavery. They're not here to free you. This country was not built on freedom. The supposed brilliant founding fathers, all they did was copy the British system. That's all they did. You have the House of Commons, which is Congress. You have the House of Lords, which is the Senate. And you have the King, which is the President. What's free about that? How are you free? How are you given freedom? The only thing the founding fathers did was free a population for them to control. And they did it through blunt, violent force. There's a definition of power generally defined as control over others by providing or withholding resources without social interference. So power is control over others by providing or withholding resources without social interference, meaning you don't stand up and go, oh, hold on a second, buddy. In other words, you're not constantly, you don't have a blockade up. You're not, stealing everything. You're not taking everything from them. You're not refusing to pay for something. Social interference. And this guy is, pictured as power because he's a quote unquote king. Now, what makes him different than anybody else? Nothing, except his ability and desire and want to use violence against you, to control you through your resources. Because within this definition, controlling you by providing or withholding resources takes an effort. And that effort is violence. In other words, if I have a resource, let's say water, and I'm withholding it from you, what's stopping you from just taking it? What's stopping you from just drinking it? What's stopping you from just having the water? Me violencing you, or this guy right here violencing you. Not me in particular, but the guy who's holding the water will violence you if you try to get the water. So you have a system of control that is enforced with violence. 100% violence. So when the system of control uses violence against you, they never get punished. They're doing their job. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to use violence against you. They're supposed to beat you up. They're supposed to kill you. They're supposed to keep you under control. That's their job. That's the police. Okay? That's what the police do. That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to violence you. The police don't make the laws. This guy right here, or the House of Commons, Congress, the House of Lords, the Senate, these guys make the laws. But the enforcer of the law, the guy who's really going to come in and put a boot on your neck, literally, are the police, is a cop. So I said, if you look back on my videos months ago, when this wave of police protests started, these cops aren't going to get charged with murder. These cops are not going to get charged with murder. Oscar Grant got shot at point blank range, handcuffed, face down. No murder charge. Eric Garner got choked to death in broad daylight. No murder charge. No murder charge. They can't charge the cops with murder because that's their job. They did their job. The Kentucky Attorney General, I don't have a statement here, but, it's something like, hey, justice is, not always easy to understand and this and that. Meaning, we're okay with our cops killing you. And who is our? It's the Black Death Cult. These people have been around for about 38,000 years that we can trace. And they have just been wreaking havoc, killing animals, killing plants, killing nature, killing streams, killing water supplies, killing people, killing everything. That's why they're the Black Death Cult. Now, they're a cult because you have to take an oath to get in it. You have to raise your hand and take an oath. So anybody who takes an oath, you're in the Black Death Cult. You take an oath to protect and serve like these cops do. They're not protecting and serving me. They're not protecting and serving you. They're protecting and serving him. They're protecting and serving Rand Paul. And the thing is, even if you killed Rand Paul, okay, even if you killed a senator, it's not going to do anything. He's going to be venerated. He's going to be made a hero. He's going to be made a martyr. He's going to be talked about positively. And then you're going to be a villain. You're going to be in jail. You could face a death penalty. And another senator will get put in Rand Paul's place. It's not going to do you any good to violence anybody in the Black Death Cult because it's a system of control. It's a system of control using these cops, using violence. And that's just one of the means of control that you're under. Here's a article, How Slaveholders in the Caribbean Maintained Control over their slaves. The whip was not the only tool in their arsenal. The whip. Slaveholders were masters of manipulation. So if you look at a actual slave from back in the day, and you look at you're a debt slave. I am a debt slave. We're enslaved by debt constantly. The actual slave himself didn't own any debt because he didn't own anything. He couldn't accrue debt because he couldn't have anything. He was actually forbidden by law to own anything. It was against the law for a slave to own something. And you're talking this goes back thousands and thousands of years, Roman times, Greek times, Babylonian times, Sumerian times. This is not just, the American South. A whole bunch of slaves were transferred to the Caribbean. A whole bunch of them. It wasn't the Deep South. It was an island in what we call the Caribbean or the Caribbean right now. But if you look at their means of control, their manipulation, that's what they're using on you in the modern day, is manipulation. See, you were born, if you look at this little kid slave here, he was born a slave. You're born into a quote unquote system. You are born into America. You are born into Germany. You are born into Austria. There is very few places you can just get born and just be like, hey, I'm here. Where am I? Well, there's a Bob Marley song called 3 a.m. Roadblock where he says, you ain't got no birth certificate on me. Meaning I'm not going to be part of your system just because I was born. But you and I were born into debt slavery. This kid was born into actual slavery. So in debt slavery, of course, they can use violence against you. If you don't pay them their money, they will violence you. If you go into a store and walk out without paying them their money, they'll violence you. If you contract work and don't pay for it, you will get violenced. If you owe the state money for, let's say, a speeding ticket or, failure to conform to their rules that they've written down for you, you'll get violenced quick. If a court wants to talk to you and they put out a warrant for your arrest and you don't follow it, you will get violenced. So violence is overall the number one means of control. 100%. For slaves too. I mean, if you're going to get cracked with a whip, it's a pretty powerful, once again, power, controlling. The right of masters in Jamaica to punish slaves was enshrined in law. See, this is where you get to BreonnaTaylor's killer. He's allowed to kill. He's given the green light to kill. He is lawfully killing. Cops, this guy right here can lawfully kill you. Now, can you lawfully kill him? No. Even people who get their door busted down in the middle of the night with no identification, no nothing in terms of them saying police, when they shoot a cop, they go to jail. They don't get away with it. Never. Never. Now, I'm not saying maybe one or two cases, but I mean, if a deputy sheriff busts into your house at 2 a.m. to execute a warrant, doesn't say who he is, and you shoot him thinking somebody's busting in, you're going to get punished. You are going to get strung out. Now, if he busts into your house, BreonnaTaylor, and kills you, nothing happens to him. If he chokes Eric Garner in the street, nothing happens to him. Why? Because it's enshrined in law that he can do what he wants, just like the slave masters in the Caribbean, in Jamaican. So what you have to understand is it is impossible to get large groups of people to perform sustained labor effectively and consistently for years on end simply through doling out pain and raw terror. But that is your number one. That's your number one source of control, is we'll take everything from you. We'll take everything from you. We'll beat the hell out of you. Okay? And that's powerful. Quote unquote power. Once again, controlling, right? So what they did was creating divisions between slaves was essential. Now, if you think about the concept of the 99%, meaning 99% of people are debt slaves and 1% of the people own the debt, in Jamaica, the slave ratio was higher than 10 to 1. And on some big plantations, 100 to 1, meaning there's one owner and 100 slaves. So think about that, one owner and 99 slaves. The 99% literally personified on a big plantation. And what is America? Warren Sapp said the NFL is just another plantation. Well, you could also say America is just another plantation. In my opinion, and I'm not saying that to diminish actual slaves on a plantation. What I'm saying is it's similar to a plantation. It's comparable to a plantation. So what they did was they divided people, creating division. Now ask yourself, is this country divided right now? Are you divided? Are you, as the 99%, are you divided? Of course you are. Look around you. Everybody is divided. You get divided by Facebook, you get divided by Twitter, you get divided by the apps you're using, you get divided by class, you get divided by job title, you get divided by race, you get divided by income, you get divided by tax bracket, you get divided by community, you get divided by state, you get divided by county. You're divided all over the place. So they have created division, 100%. Created division. So what they did was they have the Negroes on an estate, a mixture of nations, so as to balance one against another, to be sure of having 2/3 join whites. In other words, they have somebody from Ethiopia and they have somebody from the Congo. And the guy from the Congo is not going to join the guy from Ethiopia because they're mortal enemies from their homeland. So they're going to join white people. They're not going to join Ethiopians and overthrow the white person. They're going to stand with the white guy against the Ethiopian. So that's essential. Division is essential in keeping you a debt slave, keeping you any kind of slave at all. It's essential. So you've got the punishment, you've got the violence, you've got the division. Now, privileging some enslaved people above others was another effective means of sowing discord. Slaveholders encouraged complex social hierarchies that amounted to something like a system of class. So, once again, here we go with the division by class, by privileging, meaning this guy has something. That's why I have this picture up, because you look at this guy, he's got a shirt on that says billionaire. Look at me, I'm a billionaire. I'm different than you. Look at me, I'm a king. I'm different than you. So what you do is that the most important members of this enslaved elite, notice you're still enslaved. This is the most important part. When you're an elite, you're still enslaved. You're an enslaved elite. You're a debt slave elite. That's what he is. That's what Kevin Smith is here, a debt slave elite. That's what your celebrities are, debt slave elites. They're elites of debt slavery. They are the upper class of debt slavery. Think about it. Somebody who's rich, they can pay off their debts for a long, long time, but they're still enslaved. They're still in debt. They still owe money. They're still controlled. They still have to do all kinds of things they may not want to do. But it's much less when you get up into the upper class, just like in this slave example right here. When you get into the uh, sugar boiler, blacksmith, carpenter, masons, such men in general were materially better off than field slaves. So you're going to be a little better off in the debt slave elite, but you're still going to be a debt slave elite driving on a road. You're still going to have to use a road. You're still going to have to buy their gasoline. You're still going to use their food supply. You're still going to pay them money to vacation. You're still going to do all that stuff. But the most important members of this enslaved elite were the drivers, responsible for enforcing discipline and work routines among other enslaved workers. Drivers meaning not driving a car driver. Driver meaning having a whip and beating you with it, driving you to work. In other words, the guy with the whip. And guess who the drivers are right now? That's right. These guys right here with the whip. Their whip is just a gun, a taser, a pepper spray, a baton, a boot, an arm, a shield, a car. That's what they're driving you with. The most important members of the enslaved elite, right here. That's why that's why they're not held responsible for killing BreonnaTaylor. That's why they're not getting held. They're the most important part of the debt slave elite. They're the most important part of the 1%. Because think about it. If Mitch McConnell told you to do anything, why would you do it? There's a big deal about Mitch McConnell right now and this and that. Think about it. Why would you do anything Mitch McConnell told you to do? Why? You wouldn't if this guy wasn't here to shoot you. If this guy wasn't here to put a boot on your throat. If this guy wasn't here to throw you to the ground and put you in handcuffs and take away your freedom. Because if Mitch McConnell says, well, you got to do this, then guess what? You're going to do it because this guy's going to punish you. This guy's going to drive you to do it. Think about Donald Trump. If you hate Donald Trump says, hey, wear a mask. Why would you do it? You wouldn't. You say, hey, Donald, mind your own business, buddy. I don't care what you got to say. But you can't do that because Donald Trump has his drivers there and he loves security forces. He loves police. He loves these guys because as a landlord, what if he showed up at your house and said, hey, you owe me $2,000 this month. And you go, well, nah, don't worry about it. Shut the door on him. What's he going to do? He's not going to do anything. He can't. But his sheriff is going to come in with his gun and he's going to hit your door and he's going to say, well, are you there? Is anybody in here? And if you don't answer, they'll bust it down. It's Donald Trump's property. They are the most important key to Donald Trump owning property. Right here, these guys. So you have the violence, you have the division, and part of the division is privilege. You're giving some people more than others. And what are those forms? The privileges conferred on the enslaved elite, in our case, the debt slaved elite, came in several forms. Better food, more food, better clothing, bigger housing. So think about right now what your debt slave elite does. They eat in fine restaurants, in restaurants that cost a lot of money, better food. They wear Gucci, they wear Prada, they wear Dolce & Gabbana, they have Versace, they have a Louis Vuitton. It's all better. That's a Louis Vuitton purse is way better than your purse, isn't it? Right? They drive a Mercedes. A Mercedes is better than a Ford, isn't it? Oh, look at that. That Mercedes costs a lot of money. That Rolls Royce, oh man, that costs a lot of money. That's a nice car. It's way better than my Ford Taurus. So the debt slave elite, even to this is back in the 1600s. This is back in the 1700s. This is back in the 1800s. It's still happening today. And nothing's going to change. If you think the debt slave elite is going to give up their Rolls Royce for you, you better wake up. It ain't going to happen. He's going to have this guy putting a boot on your throat for the rest of your life. Period. That's it. Just accept it. So you are being controlled by that. And now the thing is once you as a debt slave get these rewards, then what happens is, let me just read this. The various privileges extended to the debt slave elite helped to create a conservative attitude among some keen to protect what they had gained. Meaning, I'm a driver, right? I'm driving you to slavery. I'm not the plantation owner, but I was appointed by the plantation owner to keep you in line, right? So now I'm going to protect my job because it's helping me, not you. These guys don't care about you. I've said it a million times. Look at my videos. I've said it. Cops don't care about you. Cops do not give a damn about you. Cops do not care about BreonnaTaylor. Cops do not care about Freddie Ray. Cops do not care about Eric Garner. Cops do not care at all. None of them. They don't care. They do not care. They're protecting their job. They're protecting their life. They're protecting their well-being, not yours. They're not there for you. And so what happens is the debt slave elite become keen to protect what they gain. Mitt Romney got a 9-car heated garage. You think he wants to give that up for you? No. The Rolls Royce, like I said earlier, do you think that guy wants to give that up for you? Look, guy's got a $7 million apartment in Manhattan. You think he wants to give that up for you? Of course not. He's going to protect it every way he can. And the main way that he protects it, once again, is violence through this guy. Because if, let's say, for instance, you knock on the guy's door, he's got a $7 million apartment. First of all, you can't even get up there because they got a doorman and security in the building to make sure you don't get up there. But let's say you did. You knock on his door and you go, hey, I'm going to come in and, sit down. No, you're not. Why? Because I'm going to call the cops. Think about it. The first thing these guys do is call the cops. I'm going to call the cops to get you out of my apartment, to get you off my property, to get you away from me. He's protecting his and depriving you of yours. So the other thing about the privileged debt slave is they produce an aspirational culture of sorts within the slave community. Meaning, when you see there's a guy called Riff Raff. He, has diamonds and he's always flaunting his money and he's driving a nice car and, that's the aspirational culture. I want to be like that slave. You don't say, well, I don't want to be a debt slave. No. I'm tired of working to pay off my debt. I don't want to pay a tax on my land. No. You say, I want a big piece of land like Jeff Bezos. You don't go, I don't want to pay on a house anymore. I don't think I should owe any money for paying in a house or living in a house. I don't think it's right. You go, I want a house like Jeff Bezos. I want a house like Warren Buffett. I want a house like, what's his name? Bill Gates. I want a mansion. I want a big house. That's your aspirational culture. You don't say, well, maybe I don't want to drive a car every day to work. Maybe I don't need a car, maybe I don't need to work. No, you go, I want to drive a nice car like Jeff Bezos. I want to drive a nice car like I want a Rolls Royce, like that rapper Kevin Jones. He's a billionaire. Look, aspirational culture. Billionaire. Look, be like me. Be a rich slave. Be a rich debt slave. Make a whole bunch of money as a debt slave. Become a real good debt slave. Not escape debt slavery. Not get out of debt. Not don't be a slave. So the mindset of slavery, of debt slavery, is a lot of the control of you. So you're being controlled physically through something they call law, something they call violence. Number one, the backbone of all modern day control is violence. 100%. It's created by the Black Death cult thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago. The Black Death cult realized they could violence you and control you. Then on the mind games, you have separation. And you just divide people. Well, I'm from Tennessee. Well, I'm from Kentucky. Well, F you, buddy. You're from California? Well, F you, buddy. Oh, you from New York City? We don't think like that down here. I'm from New York City. We don't think like that up here. Oh, no, I'm from California. We don't do that out here. Division. Just based upon just complete lies, by the way. There is no land division anywhere in the country that's not made by man. There's no divided land on this whole planet. None of it's divided. Man has divided it. The Black Death cult has divided it. And they've divided you in the process. And then you use privilege. You give them better food. You give a certain debt slave better food. You give a certain debt slave better a car. You give a certain debt slave a better house. And then look what happens. Those debt slaves that get that want to protect it against you getting it. You think a landlord wants you to not be a renter? You think a landlord wants you to own land? Of course not. Because if you own land, he doesn't have any renters. So the whole system, the whole idea, the whole country, everything is made for a debt slave to stay a debt slave, including these aspirational debt slave characters, celebrities, debt slave, musicians, debt slaves. But I want to be like them. I want to have all the things those debt slaves have. I want to have all the things Leonardo DiCaprio has. I want to have everything that Brad Pitt has. I want to have everything that Cardi B has. And meanwhile, you get nothing because you're divided. You are held in place. Me too. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm a debt slave too, 100%. I've been a debt slave my whole life. I was born into debt. I'm still in debt. I'm going to die in debt. I'm going to die owing somebody something. And I'm controlled by cops, 100%. I'm controlled all the way around. And so are you. So until we, and I'm not saying specifically me and you, but until the debt slaves gather up and say, we don't want debt slavery anymore, we're going to be debt slaves for a long, long time.